During Thanksgiving dinner, my father pointed at me and announced to the entire family that I was a guest in my own house. They all laughed as I sat there quietly, until I revealed the letter that proved I had more claim than anyone else present. Yet I need to get this out before I lose what's left of my mind. What happened at Thanksgiving dinner yesterday has broken something in me that I don't think can ever be fixed. And the worst part, I deserved every second of it. It started 6 months ago. That's when I made the decision that would destroy everything I'd spent 15 years building. Sarah, my wife, had been working late, constantly climbing the corporate ladder at her firm. Our conversations had become logistics. Who's picking Emma from soccer? Did pay the mortgage? When's the parent-teacher conference? The spark felt gone. Then came Jessica from my office, 26, bright-eyed, and she actually laughed at my jokes. It began innocent enough. Coffee runs, staying late to finish projects, texting about work stuff that somehow turned personal. I told it was just friendship. I was lying to from day one. The first time she touched my hand while we were reviewing spreadsheets, my wedding ring felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. I should have pulled away. Instead, I let her fingers linger. That night, I went home and Sarah goodnight like nothing happened. The betrayal had already begun, even if I hadn't admitted it yet. 3 weeks later, Jessica and I had our first reel in the parking garage. My hands shook the entire drive home. Sarah was helping Emma with math homework at the kitchen table, both of them laughing over some inside joke. They looked when I walked in, faces bright and welcoming, and I felt like the worst person alive, but not awful enough to stop. The affair lasted 4 months. 4 months of lies, secret phone calls, and elaborate cover stories. I became a stranger in my own, watching Sarah plan our family vacation while I deleted text messages from another woman, watching Emma show me her artwork while I mentally calculated how much time I could steal away to be with Jessica. Sarah started asking questions in August. Why was I working so late? Why did I seem distant? Why didn't I want to be intimate anymore? Each question was but I deflected them all. I told her she was being paranoid. I told her work was stressful. I made her doubt her own instincts about the man she'd married. The worst part wasn't the cheating. It was watching her blame herself. She started working out more, buying new clothes, trying to be the wife she thought I wanted. She was already perfect, and I was throwing it away for temporary excitement and my own selfish needs. Jessica ended it in September. Said she'd met someone else, someone single who could actually take her out in public. The irony wasn't lost on me. I destroyed my marriage for Sami as a placeholder until something better came along. I begged her to reconsider. Actually begged. That's the kind of man I'd become. Coming home that night to Sarah making my favorite dinner, asking about my day with genuine concern in her eyes, I almost confessed everything. Almost. Instead, I smiled and told her about a presentation I'd supposedly given to clients. Even my remorse was selfish. I wanted the relief of confession without accepting the consequences. October brought the discovery. Sarah found the hotel receipts I'd forgotten in my jacket pocket. Receipts for a hotel 3 blocks from our house, on days I'd told her I was in client meetings across town. She didn't confront me immediately. Later I learned she'd hired a private investigator first, wanting to know the full scope of my deception before destroying our family. When she finally presented the evidence, it was like watching a movie of someone else's terrible choices. Photos of Jessica and me holding hands. Screenshots of text messages I thought were deleted. Credit card records showing dinners at romantic restaurants, while I'd told Sarah I was eating gas station sandwiches at my desk. Sarah didn't scream. She didn't throw things. She just sat at our kitchen table, looking at the evidence spread out like a case file, and said, "How long?" When I tried to minimize it, she showed me more photos. When I tried to explain, she quoted my own text messages back to me. There was nowhere to hide from what I'd done. Emma was at a sleepover that night. Sarah and I talked until dawn, or rather, she asked questions and I finally told the truth. About Jessica, about the months of lies. About how I'd made our marriage problems seem like they were Sarah's fault when I was the one destroying us from the inside. She asked if I loved Jessica. I said no, and I meant it. By then, I could see Jessica for what she was. Not the fantasy I'd created, but someone who pursued married men for the thrill and left when things got complicated. Sarah asked if our marriage meant anything to me. I said yes, and I meant that too. But meaning something and being willing to forward are different things, and my actions had proven which mattered more. Sarah asked for space to think. I moved into our guest room and waited. 3 weeks later, she asked me to move out entirely. She'd consulted a lawyer. She wanted a divorce. She was taking Emma and moving closer to her parents. I could have visitation rights, but our together was over. I signed the papers without fighting. What was the point? I'd killed our marriage months earlier. The divorce was just making it official. That brings us to yesterday. Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house, the first family gathering since Sarah left. Everyone knew about the divorce but not the details. My parents had always preferred Sarah to me anyway, and Emma was their precious granddaughter. I expected awkwardness. I didn't expect complete humiliation. My dad stood during dinner, glass in hand, and looked directly at me. "I want to make a toast," he said, "to family. Real family. People who know what loyalty means." Then he pointed at me and announced, "Mark here is just a guest in our house now." He gave the right to be family when he destroyed his. The table went silent. My mom looked mortified. My sister stared at her plate. Emma, sitting between Sarah's parents, looked confused but Sarah just nodded slightly, like she'd expected this. That's when I realized the truth. Sarah had told them everything. Not out of spite, but because they'd asked why she was moving away, why their granddaughter would be living across the country. She'd been honest about my choices and their consequences. While I was still trying to manage my image, she was dealing with reality. I should have left then. Should have stood, apologized, and walked away with whatever dignity I had left. Instead, I did something that proved I still haven't learned anything. I pulled out my phone and showed them the text Jessica had sent me 2 days earlier. She was engaged to the man she'd left me for, and she'd written to thank me for helping her realize what she really wanted in a relationship. She said our affair had taught her the importance of honesty and commitment. I read it aloud to the table, thinking it would somehow prove that I'd been used, that I was as much a victim and made everything worse. Emma started crying. Sarah's face went white. My mother actually gasped. "So we're still talking to her?" Sarah asked quietly. "Even now I wasn't. That text was the first contact we'd had since September, but explaining that would mean admitting I'd kept Jessica's number, that I'd read her message about finding happiness with someone else, that some part of me was still connected to the woman who'd helped me destroy everything. I think should leave, my father said. Not angry anymore, just tired. I think should leave and think about who wanna be, because the man sitting at this table isn't someone I recognize. I drove home to my empty apartment and sat in the dark for hours. No family dinner leftovers. No traditional Thanksgiving movie with Emma curled next to me. No Sarah asking if I wanted coffee before bed. Just silence and the growing understanding that this is my now. I keep thinking about what my dad said. Guest in my own house. But the truth is worse than that. I'm not even a guest anymore. I'm a stranger who destroyed the home I helped build, and now I'm learning what it means to live with the consequences. The papers Jessica's fiancé probably signed weren't divorce papers. They were probably a marriage license, a promise to build something together. Meanwhile, I'm sitting alone on Thanksgiving night, typing this confession to internet strangers because there's no one left who wants to hear from me. Sarah was right to leave. Emma deserves better than a father who lies and cheats and then plays victim when reality comes calling. My parents were right to exclude me. When break something this badly, don't get to keep all the pieces. I ruined everything for 4 months of excitement that wasn't even real. Update to my Thanksgiving disaster post. Thank to everyone who commented. Some of were brutal but fair. This is what happened next. I thought Thanksgiving was rock bottom. I was wrong. Rock bottom was still coming and it arrived with a phone call from my 10-year-old daughter 3 days later. Daddy, why did Mummy? Emma's voice was small and confused, nothing like the confident kid who used to run into my arms after school. I was sitting in my studio apartment, eating cereal for dinner again, when she called from Sarah's phone. What do you mean, sweetheart? I asked, though I knew exactly what she meant. I just wasn't ready to explain adultery to a 4th grader. Grandma Pat told me had a girlfriend when we're married to Mommy. She said that's why we had to move away from our house. Sarah's mother. Of course, Pat had never liked me, always thought her daughter could do better. Now she had ammunition and she wasn't afraid to use it against her own granddaughter's relationship with her father. It's complicated, I said, which is what cowards say when they don't want to face the truth. Did love her more than us? That question broke something in me that's still broken. Because the honest answer was that I didn't love Jessica at all. I destroyed my family for someone I didn't even love, just for the excitement of being wanted by someone new. How to explain that to child? How to tell her that her daddy away there together for something that meant nothing? No baby. I love and Mommy more than anything in the world. Then why did choose her instead? 10 years old, and she'd right to the heart of it. I had made a choice. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time I deleted a text message or made a story about working late, I'd chosen Jessica over my family over and over again, until there was no family left to choose. I made some really bad decisions, Emma, and now I have to live with them. Are going to make bad decisions about me too. The question hit me like a physical. She wasn't just asking about the affair anymore. She was asking if I was going to abandon her the way I'd abandoned her mother, if I was going to choose something else over her the next time got complicated. Never, I said. Or the most important thing in my. But even as I said it, I could hear how hollow it sounded. If she was the most important thing in my, why had I risked losing her for someone who didn't matter? If she was everything to me, why was I sitting alone in this apartment instead of tucking her into bed? The call ended with Emma saying she had to go do homework. No, I love Daddy. No, when can I see again? Just a polite goodbye that felt like a door closing. That night I called Sarah. I needed to know what Emma had been told, how much she understood, whether there was any way to protect her from the worst of it. She knows enough, Sarah said. Her voice was different now. Not angry anymore, just tired. She knows lied to us. She knows there was another woman. She doesn't need the details. Pat shouldn't have told her anything. That's not her place. Don't. Sarah's voice got sharp. Don't dare blame my mother for telling Emma the truth when spent months lying to all of us. She asked why we moved. She asked why Daddy doesn't live with us anymore. What was I supposed to say? She was right. Of course she was right. I wanted to control the narrative, to present some sanitized version where I was just confused and made mistakes. But Emma deserved honesty, even if it meant facing the fact that her father was the kind of man who destroys families. How is she really doing? I asked. Sarah was quiet for a long time. When she finally spoke, her words deeper than anything she'd said during our worst fights. She blames herself. She thinks if she'd been a better daughter, maybe would have stayed. She's been having nightmares about leaving forever. She asked me if I was going to find a new daddy for her because the old one didn't want us anymore. I had to put the phone down. Actually had to set it on the counter and walk away because I couldn't breathe. My little girl, who used to make me Father's Day cards with stick figure drawings of our family, thought she wasn't good enough to keep her daddy home. She was carrying guilt that belonged entirely to me. When I picked the phone again, Sarah was still there. I never wanted to hurt, I said. But did, her in ways that are going to take years to heal. Every time she wonders if people will abandon her, that's going to be because of what did. Every time she has trouble trusting someone she loves, that's going to be legacy. Sarah hung, and I sat in my apartment understanding for the first time that this wasn't just about losing my wife. I damaged my daughter's ability to believe in love and family, in the idea that the people who matter most will stick around when things get hard. Work became the next disaster. I thought I'd hidden the affair well, kept my professional and personal lives separate. I was wrong about that too. It started with weird looks from colleagues. Conversations that stopped when I walked into the break room. Invitations to client dinners that somehow forgot to include me. I told I was being paranoid. Then Jessica got engaged to David from our marketing department. Turns out, she'd never been subtle about our affair. Half the office knew what was going on while I thought we were being discreet. When she got engaged, people started connecting dots. David knew. Of course he knew. Jessica had probably told him everything, maybe even while we were still together. The timeline meant she'd been seeing both of us simultaneously, playing us against each other while I thought I was her only secret. My boss Karen called me into her office on a Tuesday morning in December. We need to talk about situation with Jessica, she said. There is no situation, that's over. Mark, everyone knows had an affair with her while we're married. Everyone knows she left for David. And now David's been promoted to lead the Henderson account that been working on for 2 years. The Henderson account, my biggest client, the relationship I'd been building since I started at this company. Now it was going to someone else because I couldn't keep my personal from destroying my professional reputation. Are firing me. I'm strongly suggesting look for opportunities elsewhere. This kind of drama doesn't reflect well on our company values. Family-owned business understand. Traditional values. Like commitment and honesty and not betraying the people who trust. Values I'd thrown away for 4 months of excitement that everyone could see through. I cleaned out my desk that afternoon. 15 years with the company, and I left with a cardboard box and a reputation that would follow me to every job interview. Because that's what happens when make private failures public through own poor judgment. The worst part was walking past Jessica's desk. She looked when I passed, and for just a second, I saw something that might have been guilt. Then David appeared with her lunch order, and she smiled at him the way she used to smile at me. Like I'd never existed at all. Christmas was 3 weeks away and I had no job, no family, and no idea how to fix any of it. Sarah had agreed to let me see Emma for a few hours on Christmas Eve, but even that felt like charity. Court-ordered charity, because the judge said divorced fathers have rights even when they don't deserve them. I started drinking more. Not falling down, just enough to make the silence in my apartment bearable. Enough to stop thinking about Emma asking if I was going to abandon her too. Enough to stop replaying every moment when I'd chosen Jessica over my family. My sister called one night in mid-December. Katie had barely spoken to me since Thanksgiving, so I was surprised to hear from her. Mom's worried about, she said, Mom doesn't want to talk to me, she doesn't know what to say to. None of us do. We all loved Sarah and Emma like they were our own family, and then just, them away. I didn't throw them away. What would call it then? I didn't have an answer for that. Because throwing them away was exactly what I'd done even if I hadn't meant to. I treated my marriage like something disposable, and now I was learning that some things can't be put back together once they're broken. Do you even understand what did to Emma? Katie asked. She's 10 years old, and she thinks love means people leave. That's what taught her. I'm still her father. Because being a father means putting child first and put first for months. Put some woman from office first. Put everything before Emma and Sarah. Katie was crying now, which made it worse. My little sister, who used to defend me when we were kids, was crying because of the man I'd become. I don't know how to fix this, I admitted. Can't fix it. That's the point. Some things stay broken. Sarah's never coming back, Mark. Emma's never gonna look at the same way. Marriage is over, family thinks you're a stranger, and everyone at work knows what kind of man really are. She hung, and I sat alone with the truth she'd given me. Some things stay broken. I'd spent months believing that if I could just explain better, if I could show everyone how sorry I was, maybe I could earn back some piece of what I'd lost. But can't earn back trust once I've destroyed it completely. Can't undo the moment when daughter realizes her daddy is the kind of person who breaks promises. Can't take back the months of lies that taught wife she was married to a stranger. Christmas Eve came, and I picked Emma from Sarah's new apartment across town. She was polite but distant, like I was a family friend she didn't know very well. We went to dinner at her favorite restaurant, and she ordered carefully like she was afraid to ask for too much. How's new school? I asked. It's okay, I made a friend named Ashley. She has divorced parents too. Divorced parents. That's how Emma thought of herself now. Not a kid with a mom and dad who loved each other but a statistic. A broken family casualty. Do like living closer to Grandma Pat and Grandpa Bill. Yeah, Grandpa Bill is teaching me to play chess, and Grandma Pat makes really good cookies. She was building anew without me in it. Getting comfort from people who actually showed, who didn't disappear into lies and selfish choices. I should have been happy for her, but all I felt was the growing understanding that I was becoming a visitor in my own daughter's story. When I dropped her off, Sarah met us at the door. She looked good, rested, like the stress of being married to me had been weighing her down more than I'd realized. Tell Daddy thank for prompted Emma. Thank for dinner, Daddy. Or welcome, sweetheart. I love pie. Love too. But it sounded automatic, like something she was supposed to say. Not like the spontaneous affection she used to show me before I broke everything. Driving home to my empty apartment, I realized that this was my now. Scheduled visits with my own daughter. Polite conversations with the woman who used to be my best friend. Holidays spent alone because I'd chosen temporary excitement over permanent love. I'd gotten exactly what I'd asked for when I started the affair. Freedom from the responsibilities of marriage. Excitement instead of routine. The thrill of being wanted by someone new. Turns out, freedom is just another word for having nothing left to lose. 6 months have passed since Christmas Eve with Emma. 6 months of scheduled phone calls, awkward visits, and watching my daughter grow through snapshots. Sarah occasionally texts me. Emma lost another tooth. Emma made honor roll. Emma scored her first soccer goal. I'm becoming a tourist in my own child's. But this isn't about what I've lost anymore. This is about what I destroyed beyond any hope of repair. It started with a phone call from my lawyer in March. Sarah wanted to move to Portland with Emma. Her company offered her a promotion, a chance to run their West Coast office. Better schools for Emma. A fresh start 2,000 miles away from the wreckage I'd created. Can it? My lawyer said. Contest the move, demand she stay local for visitation rights. I thought about it. Thought about forcing Sarah to turn down her dream job. Making Emma stay in a city where everyone knew her daddy was the man who destroyed their family. Thought about clinging to my parental rights like they mattered more than my daughter's happiness. Let them go, I said. My lawyer looked surprised. Sure. Once they move, see Emma maybe twice a year. Holiday visits, summer vacation if we're lucky. She's better off without me around. It was the first completely selfless decision I'd made in 2 years. Emma deserved a where she wasn't constantly reminded that people who love sometimes choose other things instead. She deserved to grow somewhere fresh, where her story wasn't defined by her father's failures. I signed the papers that afternoon. Sarah called that evening, and for the first time since discovery her voice was gentle. She said, I know what this cost. Take care of her. Both of deserve everything good and Mark, she paused, like she was gonna say something important. Then, quietly, I hope find peace with what done. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, just peace. It was more than I deserved, and we both knew it. They moved in April. I helped load the truck, carried boxes filled with the we used to share. Emma's artwork, still stuck to the refrigerator from when we were a family. The coffee mug Sarah bought me for Father's Day 3 years ago. Photo albums full of birthdays and vacations and ordinary Tuesday nights when we were happy without even knowing it. Emma hugged me goodbye, and this time it felt real, not polite or obligated but sad and genuine and final. I'm going to miss too, baby girl. More than I'll ever know. Will call me, every Sunday. That's a promise. It's a promise I've kept. Every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific I call and we talk for exactly 20 minutes. She tells me about her new school, her new friends, her soccer team. I tell her about my new job at a smaller firm, the apartment I'm renting, the books I'm reading. We're polite with each other now, careful. Like we're distant relatives trying to maintain connection across time zones. She doesn't ask when I'm coming to visit. I don't promise trips I can't afford. We both understand this is how it's gonna be now. Work has been strange. The new job pays less and everyone knows why I left my old company. Professional reputation follows in this industry, especially when personal failures become office gossip. I do good work, keep my head down, and go home alone every night. It's not the career I planned, but it's the career I earned. Jessica got married in June. I only know because David posted photos on social media. And we're still connected from the old office group chat I never left. She looked beautiful in her white dress, radiant in a way I'd never seen during our 4 months together. Turns out she was just waiting to be happy with someone who could actually offer her a future. I stared at those wedding photos for a long time, trying to feel something. Jealousy, regret, anger. But there was nothing there. Jessica had been a fantasy I'd projected onto a real person. The woman I destroyed my marriage for never actually existed. The real Jessica was someone who pursued married men for excitement, left when things got complicated, and moved on without looking back. She'd gotten exactly what she wanted: a wedding, a husband who could take her out in public, a clean love story with no messy complications. I'd given everything for someone who saw me as practice. My parents started talking to me again in July. Not warmly, not like before, but they answered when I called. My mother mentioned that Sarah sends them photos of Emma sometimes. My father asked if I was taking care. We don't talk about Thanksgiving dinner. We don't talk about what I did to Sarah and Emma. But they don't on me anymore. Katie visited in August. My sister sat in my small apartment, looked around at my bachelor furniture and empty refrigerator, and asked the question I'd been avoiding. Was it worth it? All of this. Losing family, job, reputation. 4 months with some woman who didn't even love. Was it worth it? I wanted to say no immediately, to show her I understood how badly I'd messed. But she deserved an honest answer, not the one that made me look better. In the moment, it felt worth it. That's the part I can't forgive for. There were nights when I came home to Sarah making dinner and Emma doing homework, and I was thinking about Jessica instead. I was living in this fantasy where excitement mattered more than love, where new was better than real. Now I know the difference between feeling good and being good. Between wanting something and deserving something. Between temporary pleasure and permanent value. Katie nodded slowly. The worst part is Emma. Sarah will heal eventually, maybe find someone who actually deserves her. But Emma's gonna carry this forever. Every relationship she has, she's gonna wonder if people leave when things get boring. I know. Do really understand that didn't just lose family. Changed who Emma is going to be for the rest of her. Taught her that daddies disappear when they find something better. I did know. That knowledge was with me every morning when I woke alone. Every Sunday when I made my careful phone call. Every night when I went to bed knowing my daughter was growing without me because I'd chosen poorly. September brought news I wasn't expecting. Sarah was dating someone. A colleague from her new job, someone Emma apparently liked. I found out through my mother, who'd heard it from Sarah's mother, who thought I should know. My first reaction was anger. How dare Sarah move on so quickly, find happiness while I was still dealing with the consequences of my choices. It took me exactly 10 minutes to realize how selfish that response was. Sarah had spent our last year of marriage watching me lie to her, blame her, make her feel like she wasn't enough. She'd spent months trying to save something I was actively destroying. She'd handled our divorce with grace, protected Emma from the worst details, even thanked me for letting them move away. She deserved happiness. She deserved someone who would choose her every single day, who wouldn't throw away their together for temporary excitement. If she'd found that, I should be grateful, not resentful. But it's still. Because now Emma had a potential father figure who showed consistently, who didn't have to schedule phone calls to talk to her, who was building a relationship based on presence instead of guilt. October was when I finally understood that this was permanent. Emma called on her usual Sunday, excited about the Halloween costume Sarah's boyfriend had helped her make. She talked about him naturally, easily, like he was already part of their family. Tom's really good at carving pumpkins, she said. He made mine look like a castle. Tom, he had a name now. He was real, taking my place in the daily moments I'd given when I chose Jessica over everything that mattered. That sounds great, sweetheart. He's teaching me to ride a bike without training wheels. Mommy said maybe can see me ride when visit for Christmas. Christmas visit, the charity trip I'd get twice a year, where I'd stay in a hotel and take Emma to dinner and pretend I was still her father instead of someone who used to be. I'd love that. But even as I said it, I knew the truth. Tom would be the one teaching her to drive. Tom would be at her high school graduation. Tom would walk her down the aisle if she ever got married. Tom would be the grandfather to her children, the stable presence I'd given when I decided excitement was more important than commitment. I was becoming Uncle Mark. The guy who sends birthday cards and Christmas presents from far away, who gets updates through photos and carefully managed phone calls. That night I sat in my apartment and finally let cry. Not for what I'd lost but for what I'd thrown away. For the Saturday mornings I'd never have with Emma, the bedtime stories I'd never read, the teenage heartbreaks I wouldn't be there to comfort. For the Sarah was building without me, the happiness she'd found after I taught her that marriage meant lies and betrayal. For the trust Emma would never have in people who claimed to love her, because the first man who promised to always be there had chosen someone else instead. November brought my final realization. I was checking my mail when I found a wedding invitation. Sarah and Tom were getting married in December, a small ceremony with family and close friends. Emma would be the flower girl. At first I was confused why they'd invite me. Then I understood. This wasn't about inclusion. This was about closure. Sarah was showing me that had moved forward, that the space I'd vacated had been filled by someone better. Emma called that Sunday, bubbling with excitement about being in the wedding. Mommy looked so pretty in her dress, and Tom cried when he saw it. He said she was the most beautiful woman in the world. Tom cried. I'd never cried at our wedding. I'd be nervous, excited, happy, but I hadn't cried. Tom understood something I'd never figured out, that finding someone who chooses every day is worth tears of gratitude. I'm happy for them, Em. They sound perfect together. Are gonna come to the wedding? The question every divorced parent dreads. Child wants there for their important moments, but no longer part of the family story. Or the previous chapter, the mistake that had to be corrected. I don't think that would be appropriate, sweetheart. This is Mommy and Tom's special day. Oh, okay. She sounded disappointed but not surprised. Emma was learning the hard way that some people matter more in than others, that some relationships are permanent while others are just temporary stops along the way. I didn't go to the wedding. Instead, I sat in my apartment on a Saturday in December, and imagined my daughter throwing flower petals while my ex-wife married someone who deserved her. Someone who would choose her and Emma every single day for the rest of their lives. That night Sarah texted me a photo. Emma in her flower girl dress, beaming next to Sarah in her wedding gown. They looked happy, complete, like a family that had healed from an old wound and moved forward. I stared at that photo for hours. My daughter looked older, more confident, more secure than she had in the months after our divorce. She'd found stability again. This is mine now. Sunday phone calls with a daughter who's growing 2,000 miles away. Holiday visits where I'm the guest instead of the father. A job that pays the bills but doesn't fulfill me. An apartment with no photos on the walls because the people in my pictures belong to someone else now. I destroyed everything for 4 months with a woman who was using me as practice for her real relationship. I traded permanent love for temporary excitement, and now I get to live with that choice forever. People ask me if I've learned anything from this experience. The answer is yes, but it doesn't matter anymore. I've learned that marriage requires daily choice, that excitement fades but commitment grows, that some things can't be repaired once they're broken completely. But learning the lesson after I've destroyed everything is like understanding fire safety after house has burned down. The knowledge is valuable, but it doesn't give back what lost. Emma will graduate high school without me in the audience. She'll go to college, get married, have children, build a where I'm a distant figure who calls on Sundays and sends cards on birthdays. Sarah will grow old with Tom, sharing inside jokes and comfortable silences and the deep love that comes from choosing each other every single day. And I'll be here alone with the consequences of the worst decision I ever made. The affair lasted 4 months. The regret will last forever. If we're reading this and thinking about stepping outside marriage, about choosing excitement over commitment, about risking everything for someone who isn't even real, don't become the cautionary tale children will tell their therapists. Don't trade the love have for the fantasy want, because once crossed that line there's no going back to who used to be. The man who destroys his family doesn't get to keep the pieces.